Alright, welcome back. I am Dr. Kevin Hadley. This is the Board Game Professor, and this is a detailed review of how to play Terror in Meeple City. So we've talked about setting up the game. Now we're going to talk about how to do the basic actions within the game. Okay. And so there are 4 types of actions, and they can always, and if you're never really remembering or you can't find the rules, they're right here. There's a symbology or iconography, I guess I said that right, on the back of the board. So you do 2 actions, and there is movement, hurricane breath, crush buildings, or throw vehicles. So it's pretty straightforward. So let's use our blue guy here as our kind of example. So in terms of moving, you take your kaiju or your Godzilla, however you want to call him, off of his paws or hers, and you flick the tile around. So like you can nudge it, you can flick it really hard. You can't just be like, you can't move it. I mean, you gotta like tap it. You could also kind of nudge it really softly in case you're really close where you want to go. So, you know, that's one valid move. Okay, and so when you're moving, that's how you move. Of course, there's different places you might want to move to for different reasons. We can talk about those in a different video. Just one thing to note though, when moving, if you knock down another meeple, so let's say I did this move, and I have green over here, and I knocked him down, and he got knocked out. Oh, well, I've hurt him, okay, because not only are we, we're vying for the most attention, we're vying for the most food, the best food. Okay, well, I'm going to make it so that, I get the food and not the green guy. And so if I knock somebody down, I steal a tooth from them. So they lose a tooth for getting knocked down, but I get it, and that's going to be worth points later. The other thing about movement is, it doesn't really matter if I knock over a meeple or a building or whatever when I'm moving. Whatever happens, happens. Now the one thing is, okay, I fell off this, so let's say I did this really hard, and I fall off the board. Okay, well, the board is the world, so let's say, let's just kind of think of this as, this whole thing is on an island. Well, I've hurt myself, okay? And so when I've hurt myself, I lose a tooth. So I take a tooth and I put it back into the supply. And I no longer have that tooth. Now, what happens if you lose a tooth and you don't have any teeth loose? So, by default, everybody starts with 4 extra teeth and always has these 2 top teeth, so it always has something to eat. But what if it loses all of its bottom 4 teeth and I need to lose another tooth? Okay, either because somebody knocks me down or something else happens that I have to lose a tooth, like falling off the board. Well, if you've already lost all your teeth and you need to lose more teeth, well then you take 2 meeples, that's right, 2 meeples, out of your stomach, and those go back into the supply, or if it's the case of somebody stealing a tooth, it goes to the person who beat me up. So those 2 meeples at random go to, so you don't get to cherry pick the ones you want, you just, pick 2 at random, close your eyes, pick 2, put them into the supply, or pick 2 at random and give them to the other player from your stomach. And your stomach is basically everything that's behind the screen. Okay, so that's how movement works, and again, some of these super special powers and some of the special powers give you movement capabilities. We'll talk about those when we talk about the cards. Okay, so that was movement. Now there's hurricane breath. Hurricane breath. This is where you take a big breath and you blow. Okay. There's a couple of house rules associated with this. The official rule says, okay, you can't breathe in until you put your chin on top of the piece. But when you do your breath, you have to do it from the piece. So and then I blow. So, okay, and then chaos ensues. Okay, which is always fun. So So we have our chaos that has been assumed here after I've done my chaos breath. And we'll talk about resolution of the chaos, what happens in terms of eating and runaway meeples and all that other things. But that's hurricane breath, okay? And again, on these, you don't have to do. It's not like you only can do one of these. You can do 2 hurricane breaths in case maybe that first one's a little bit of folly. That one was pretty good for me, I think. I knocked down a whole building. And then you can do 2 moves or whatever. So okay, crush buildings now. Crushed buildings can only happen if you are touching or on a sidewalk. So we see these sidewalks. So I can only crush this building if my token is touching the sidewalk. And so, but now that I am touching the sidewalk, I can crush the building, which means basically take this guy and drop him from some height in some position to crush this building. Now I want to do it carefully because I don't want meeples coming off the board. Talk about why and how that works in a different video, but that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, that's the aim. So I drop this thing. Okay, and again, chaos it gets assumed, things happen, meeples go flying, maybe floors go flying, not in this case because it didn't hit it that hard, and then I put my guy back on my token. Now let's say this meeple landed on my token. Well, do I put my guy on top of the meeple? No. In this very specific case, I kind of nudge him off. I mean, he is on the green, and then put my guy back. Maybe there's a floor. Again, you kind of want to nudge your token as easily and gently as possible to not disrupt said chaos that you imposed upon the city. So that's the general rule of when it comes to having your kaiju disemboweled from its paws. Okay, and now we have, so that was crushing buildings, and again, we'll talk about resolution after, when we come down to here. Okay, and now we have throwing vehicles. Okay, so you can see that obviously none of the starting spots have vehicles, so that's another way to find where the vehicles go. Again, ensuing chaos may make vehicles move, so it looks like our news truck moved. I don't even have a clue where it went, but let's say I'm over, I scooted myself over, I'm now in the orange. Okay, now I have access to the ice cream truck. Okay, so throwing, I put it on top like this, and then I flick it. Now, this does not matter if it falls off the board. Now, it does matter if a meeple falls off the board, but it doesn't matter if this falls off the board. So I'm going to aim for a building way over there. Oh, nothing happened. Boo. Okay, well, maybe I use my second action to try again just to see if... okay, I just accidentally knocked over a building because I'm clumsy. What happens? That counts as falling off. In a sense, well, I did that. The next person gets to benefit from the chaos. Okay, so specifically floors. Okay, and also I lose a tooth for doing that. That's kind of my punishment for not being very careful. Now, if you are playing this with small kids, small kids just tend to do that, so you probably don't want that mean of rules. But that's up to you. But when you're flicking, okay, so you put it on top, and you hold your fingers on top of the meeple, and you use your other finger to chuck. Oh, well that actually had an effect. The building stays standing. Wow, amazing! But I did take out one of its Miller Peoples, or Meeple Pillars. Yeah. So that is throw vehicle. Now, in terms of that vehicle, it is where it is. Okay, it stays now in this quote-unquote red neighborhood. Now, if it falls off the board, then it goes back to its default location. Okay. Now, if so when it comes to throwing a vehicle, it doesn't matter where the vehicle is, as long as it's in the neighborhood, unless it's on top of a ruin. So this is the ruins. Anything that's on top of ruins or sidewalks is not technically in a neighborhood. So like this meeple right here is not in this neighborhood. He's on the because he is an old man, he is on top of the ruins. If we take our vehicle and it landed just like that, well, it's on top of the ruins. Nobody has access to it right now. So it cannot be thrown unless you use something like Hurricane Breath to get it off of the rubble. So that was the 4 actions. You always do 2. And you know, that's there as a reminder. And then after you've done your 2 actions, then you you assess your damage, and but that'll be in the next video.